Prince Harry's most celebrated achievement is now facing its biggest controversy yet. Tom Bower's latest book, Betrayal, has sparked explosive questions about the Invictus Games. Sponsors are stepping away. Financial decisions are drawing intense scrutiny. And a partially redacted government document has fueled even more speculation. Stay until the very end because what was hidden inside that document could completely change how many people view this entire controversy.
Bower suggests that the 2025 Games in Canada were overshadowed by Meghan Markle's public appearances, referring to the event as the Meghan Games. He cites Canadian executives who allegedly felt Meghan was a distraction and that her presence was more about bling than veteran rehabilitation.
The debate surrounding the Invictus Games reached a new level after royal biographer Tom Bower published Betrayal, a book examining Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's lives before and after leaving the royal family. While the book covers several aspects of their journey, one section has attracted particular attention because it focuses on the Invictus Games, the charitable sporting event Harry founded to support wounded, injured, and sick military personnel. Bower argues that the organization has gradually drifted away from its original purpose, an allegation that both Prince Harry and the Invictus Games Foundation have rejected.
Invictus Games began with a profoundly noble mission to use sport to help recovery for wounded veterans. But lately, the math isn't mathing on their mission and the way that they run their foundation and program.
When the Invictus Games were introduced in 2014, they were widely praised for giving injured service members an opportunity to rebuild confidence through competition. The Games quickly became a symbol of resilience, inspiring veterans from around the world to challenge themselves physically and mentally after suffering life-changing injuries. For many participants, the event represented hope, recovery, and the chance to connect with others who understood their experiences.
He's made several highly critical claims regarding the Invictus Games, which we're checking out today, describing them as having become a vehicle for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's personal brand, rather than focusing on veterans, which I can say as a royal reporter, Scott, is something that I hear every Invictus Games, that there are some competitors that feel like Harry and Meghan suck all of the oxygen out of the room and it's not about them.
According to Bower's account, however, the public focus slowly changed over time. He claims media coverage increasingly centered on Prince Harry and Meghan rather than the competitors themselves. Instead of headlines celebrating athletes overcoming extraordinary challenges, newspapers and television reports often highlighted the royal couple's appearances, speeches, and public image.
He's having a lot of issues. So I did write a piece this week, it was an exclusive, about how there are funding issues for Vancouver. So we know he is going to Birmingham this summer to prep for the games next year. And one of the reasons he's going is because he needs money.
Bower argues that this shift affected how the games were perceived by the public. Among his most discussed claims are allegations concerning travel arrangements, accommodations, and the overall presentation of senior guests during recent games. Bower also describes his observations from attending the Vancouver event, arguing that the atmosphere placed unusual attention on the Duke and Duchess of Sussex.
Recent information about the Invictus Games Foundation and its Endeavor Fund have come to light and are painting a really bad picture of the situation.
The Invictus Games Foundation has firmly disputed these allegations, maintaining that veterans remain at the heart of every event and that the charity continues fulfilling its original mission. Regardless of which perspective people believe, Bower's book succeeded in placing the Invictus Games under a level of public scrutiny not seen before. What began as one author's investigation soon encouraged journalists, commentators, and online researchers to begin examining financial records, sponsorship decisions, and official documents much more closely. Those investigations would soon uncover another development that intensified the controversy even further.
But people are a little upset about where the money is going because right now there's been a 63% drop in actual grants to wounded warriors, despite the fact that they have more money in their bank than ever from carryover. And in Vancouver, they brought in, it was around 62 million. Not bad. 50% of that was from the government of Canada and BC, meaning that was taxpayers.
As the discussion surrounding Betrayal continued to spread, attention shifted from the book itself to the financial records connected with the Invictus Games. Journalists, researchers, and online commentators began examining publicly available documents, hoping to better understand how the organization was funded and how major events were being managed. Much of what they reviewed appeared routine, but one particular document quickly became the center of a growing controversy. The document in question was a government agreement connected to the 2025 Invictus Games in Canada. When copies of the agreement became publicly available, readers noticed that one section had been redacted before publication. Although government contracts are sometimes partially redacted to protect commercially sensitive or legally confidential information, the missing section immediately sparked speculation online. Critics questioned why that portion had been removed, while others cautioned against assuming that the redaction indicated any wrongdoing. Reports circulated claiming the hidden section related to operating costs and licensing arrangements. Because public funding was involved, some commentators argued that taxpayers deserved greater transparency regarding how funds were being allocated.
But the government in Australia has axed funding for Invictus Australia from this year's federal budget, as the organisation's chief executive has urged the government to reconsider this decision. This is all sort of happening just as we speak, as we go to filming. Now, I've spoken to sources close to Harry, and of course they're shocked. They say, they're blindsided by this, as was the organisation in Australia.
Others responded that contracts involving private partners frequently contain confidential business information, making limited redactions a standard practice rather than evidence of misconduct. The conversation became even more intense after users reported difficulty accessing documents that had previously been available through the Invictus Canada website. Some claimed files had been removed or relocated, while others said access procedures had changed. No official evidence established that these website changes were connected to the controversy, but the timing fueled additional speculation across social media and YouTube. Meanwhile, critics also examined the Foundation's published financial statements. They pointed to administrative expenses, executive compensation, and organizational reserves as areas deserving closer public attention. Supporters of the Foundation countered that organizing a large international sporting event requires significant spending on venues, logistics, accessibility, security, staffing, and athlete support. They argued that financial figures should be viewed within the broader context of running a global charity. As debate intensified, the discussion expanded beyond a single book or a single document. Questions about transparency, governance, and public confidence became central to the conversation. Whether the concerns ultimately proved justified or not, one thing became increasingly clear: the Invictus Games were now facing a level of public examination unlike anything in their history, and that scrutiny would soon extend to sponsors and future funding decisions.
Paula reports the next Invictus Games are scheduled for Birmingham in 2027. The UK government has committed up to £26 million in public funds, despite the city effectively declaring bankruptcy in 2023. It only exited that status in February of this year. With roughly 15 months to go, Birmingham has just 11 unnamed sponsors contributing an estimated £4 million combined.
As questions about the Invictus Games continued making headlines, attention soon turned to the organization's financial future. Reports that several sponsors had either ended their partnerships or decided not to renew agreements prompted another wave of public discussion. Although companies rarely disclose every reason behind sponsorship decisions, the timing led many observers to wonder whether the growing controversy had influenced those choices. Others cautioned that sponsorship agreements often end for routine business reasons and should not automatically be linked to public criticism. The focus also shifted toward future editions of the Games. Host cities, government agencies, and corporate partners all play important roles in financing an international event of this scale. As planning continued for upcoming competitions, analysts began asking whether continued public scrutiny could make it more difficult to attract new sponsors or secure long-term financial commitments. Organizers, however, have maintained that preparations remain on track and that their commitment to supporting wounded service personnel has not changed. Another issue that generated discussion involved the reported cost of staging recent games compared with other sporting events for injured veterans. Critics questioned whether the overall budget represented the most effective use of charitable donations and public funding. Supporters responded that international competitions involve expenses that smaller domestic events simply do not face, including transportation, security, accessibility, venue preparation, broadcasting, medical support, and accommodations for competitors from dozens of countries. They argued that direct cost comparisons can be misleading without considering those differences. Throughout the debate, many veterans and supporters emphasized what they believe should remain the central focus: the athletes themselves.
And when you're dealing with taxpayer monies, people are kind of like, hey, why are we not buying prosthetics?
Right. And more importantly, you're right, are the wounded warriors getting this money that they deserve?
Regardless of opinions about Prince Harry, Tom Bauer's book, or the financial questions being discussed, countless competitors have shared stories about how the Invictus Games helped rebuild their confidence and improve their lives after devastating injuries. Those achievements continue to represent the purpose on which the event was originally founded. The Invictus Games Foundation has consistently rejected allegations that it has lost sight of its mission, stating that it remains dedicated to serving wounded, injured, and sick service personnel. Even so, the combination of Bauer's claims, questions surrounding public documents, financial debates, and sponsorship changes has ensured that public interest remains unusually high. Whether future disclosures resolve these concerns or raise new ones, the Invictus Games will likely remain under close public scrutiny for the foreseeable future. What do you think about the growing questions surrounding the Invictus Games and the recent allegations? Share your opinion in the comments below, and remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others.